Thank you, Selena. I imagine that's the first poetry that you ever write, and that's those poems. That's pretty amazing to me. And so I'm so happy that you all got to hear her. So now it's my turn. It's hard to come after that. Since it's, I pick poems to go, since it is Poetry Month, and go, but poems about poetry and about spring, and I'm going to start with the poem that was in Askew, because if you haven't got this yet, you should. Is it for sale here? Do you have it? Yeah, you have some. It's only $5. It's such a great treasure chest, and I love the poem that's in here, and I have to dedicate it. My son is here, Andy from Minnesota. Well, his family's here, but Andy came to the reading. My husband, that's him in the back row next to Tim. So this poem is dedicated to him and his brother. It's called The Gift, and it's a true story. I mean, it took place, the beginnings of it, up in northern Minnesota on the Canadian border. So it's called the Boundary Waters Canoe Area. It's a wilderness. It started a long time ago. The Gift. In golden midsummer cotton grass, I hunch behind a wind-dwarfed pine to watch a female moose and her calf high step from forest to shore. She lifts her head, long ears twitch, as she inhales inhabitants of wind that blows my way, so I stay hidden in my human smell. Mother and calf bend to drink. The water, rusty with iron, lies still between clumps of reeds. Liquid rainbows yield to lapping tongues, flow in under velvet to become marshlight in the eye of the moose. I see the cotton grass let go, gathering, rising. The spirit of each water hole deserts its body to ghost over the marsh. Like Christ on a church wall, ascending. I know salvation is not in the blood of the Lamb, but in the blood of a woman when her rivers flow. In a room golden with morning and moose light, my children emerge from my dark waters. I give them the river wide after thawing. Read in the erotic reading, so I want to read the poem I was going to read, which is in my book. I'm going to read several poems from the Lifeline Trembles, and poems that I haven't read, and I haven't read this one. The Time of Peonies. I want to come back each May this one says for Tim, The Time of Peonies. I want to come back each May in opulent blossoms, in a full-bellied amplitude of flesh. A Renoir bather with sunlight stippling, luminous breasts, rosy nipples, a ripe brown berry centering the swell. The profligate peonies splurge it all, even as petals fall eroded and whispering cream and raspberry to the earth. For you and me, no more dancing. We breathe the end of the tango. Our bodies carry on past their own borders. All his life, Renoir caressed the limpidity of flesh, and even now we breathe the quickened breath of appetite. Today, let's rub pearls of peony blossoms over chests, bellies, legs, backsides dappled by sun, following the light that slides from nipple down to shadowy thigh. Heat on bare heads, steaming shoulders. We smile in our peonic bodies. You know what peonies are. I know they don't grow around here, but neither do lilacs. And I saw down at Whole Foods, lilacs I love. And they just grow in bushes, in the Midwest, and it smells so good. And there was bouquets this big, just 3 sprigs of lilacs, and they were, $19.99 at Whole Foods, and they last like 10 minutes because they're like wildflowers, It's like, oh my gosh. Okay. Poppies in the ruins. Heart strong as split stone, I stumble on the path between life and death, remembering the mountain of Ephesus where shards of marble survive violent sunlight. The wind in bright heat hisses like winter in crevices of stone. Scarlet poppies fill the cracks where 2 walls of rubble meet, and the dry creek bed tumbles away what's left of present and past. When the bus dropped the 2 of us on a corner in a small Turkish town, I knew it was an ending and a beginning. Lost in drenching rain, crumble, vesper roar, it was possible to laugh, to find abundance. The prayer call from loudspeakers on tiled roofs shattered our air. So I'm reading some, poems set in spring, and they involve some walking. And this one is called A Walk in the Cotswold, set in England, set in spring. I carry my grief to night's crying gate to catch the sun's last shining. Tramp across fields, spring sunset, a meadowlark, muddy road winding down to the church, a tree-lined cloister. Through the graveyard, centuries thrown together on leaning stones, teeth in wet's earth mouth, yew trees and mistletoe in berry. Between the thatched roof houses, sloping cobblestones, gardens of daffodils, iris pansies rustling with sparrows. An old man and woman close their red door, stop at other gates, stroll to the low-roofed pub, stone fireplace sided with baking ledges, cups and steins on hooks. A gray cat crouches at the window staring at bodies huddled over pints and shepherd's pie. Calling the world changeless changes everything. The sun pours light toward my love on the other side of the world. Everything's changed except the heart. This one year, I go to Minnesota in the summers, and not last summer, the summer before, no monarchs came. I mean, there used to be thousands and thousands. And then last summer there were a few, like just tiny, I maybe saw 3 all summer, so they're still not back yet completely. But this poem is called Missing the Monarch. Her flutter of black on gold always led you through musk roses and clover, you reflecting on the difference between hope and faith, but in the end, steering your own uncertain path. Now cardinal, oriole, jay, steeped in tender sunrise, promise more than the day ahead, all its milky hours undiscovered. They raise expectations for the absent, a filigreed orange, wings hovering at first light over fields of milkweed. Is it ignorance that leads you to side with optimists who blithely predict the flaming one will return some other year, warmer or wetter than this one? Monarch always commanded you not to let your thoughts drift, but to follow her as she ascended into dizzy, brightening air. What was her meaning for you? All, everything. You don't have to clap, unless you feel like it, This is called The Road. It's like a walk back in history. It's just a fantasy poem. It's based on a quote from the Irish poet Theo Dorgan, "Time thicken your throat on the road to the land of the dead." The road. Way before Giza, where she lay in a sarcophagus, the pharaohs being compact creatures like herself. Before she left the chant and trembling in Malta's hypogeum, womb deep inside the earth. Long before Glastonbury, she signaled boats from the Tor. Before Malinhead, another ship's graveyard crashed around her. Before there was a lighthouse on Inishtrahal, Earth's oldest naked stone. Even before she lived in the abbey in Paris, her eyes filled with the wraiths of women who came to wooden gates carrying sick bodies of their children. Way before the windowless house on the Mississippi or the convent walls she knew were unnatural for a girl with wings. She took a wrong turn somewhere, but that was before she followed cracks in stone, where the light inside breaks through into meadowsweet and gorse, all thorns, no leaves, golden blooms. This is one more walk one. Let's see if I have the right page. Here we go. Beach rose is seagrass. I had to read this. This is my walk out here along the coast. Beach rose is seagrass. Swagged in mist, lavender froth of waves, in wind, young egrets fishing. The path curves along the shore. At the stone railroad bridge, you cross the river, walking the tunnel of track until you clear bamboo forest. See the river of lights on the 101. Turn west to Pelicans, palms, sunset, breaking on water and stone. Time and sand thicken your throat. You come upon the half-buried gun turret. Its ghost slipped away long ago. Canteens and helmets turned to rust. Nameless soldiers of the 40s who breathed your childhood air. Cracked concrete, memories of war and fear turn you back the way you came, across the bridge, the narrow path along the beach, away from the land of the quiet dead, to the peopled boardwalk, apartment door, lit lamp, Mozart, notebook, husband. You breathe knowing you are blessed. On the dark beach, the gun turret, obliterated by sea foam during high tide, draped in seaweed during low, is an ear listening for the rising moon. Time to be what you will be. And I'm going to read a couple of other poems that fit this time of year. This one is that are new, that aren't in my book. This one I read it last Thursday night. I have to read it again because I like it. It's called Wild Tongues. All day I've watched for the Holy Spirit, knowing she is there. Could be the red finch on my balcony, the badgering crow or sun-loving gull dragging a curtain of sea mist. She bending the grass, she the wind tasting of orange flower and orange rind. I feel her hover in the colors of poetry, wisdom in the held breath of my waiting. Once I searched for her in libraries, she I could pray to, follow around like a duckling pip-pipping in her mother's wake. Since I was 7, I have longed to spend my life in praise. Sometimes I consider going back to kneeling and bowing, digging my nails into the back of a pew. Instead, I eat yogurt and drive to class to help my students hear whisperings, poems already spiraling inside them. Surely she looks back at me from their dark, tired eyes. Surely I feed the driving flames that crater their minds and souls. Even now, I open all the windows to quake in her wind. And I like that poem. It's new. I have to tell you, I'm in an online workshop, and we do a poem a week, for like 8 weeks, and I wrote it, sent it in, and then after I sent it in, I realized that that was the day that I got the habit when I went in the convent, That was the day that I wrote that poem. And I'd totally forgotten about it, but I thought, oh, wow. Some things you don't forget. They're kind of in your subconscious, and they come out in weird weird ways, and that was a weird way that it came out in that poem, which I liked. So it was a good thing. Another one. This is called Flowers of France, because when I went to France last summer, southern France. There were World War I memorials everywhere, and so this is about that. Poppies, flowers of France, poppies. Flowers of runes, flowers of stones, poppies warm old walls and rubble, flourishing where others cease. Their firing petals stitch embankments, loop through ditches where we walk the edge of town. By the wayside, in rainy furrows under waning sun, poppies adorn crumbling human stoneworks. Small flames tremble as we pass. Blackthorn, nobody calls blackthorn flower, trailing for miles along rail lines and tag ends of fields until suddenly black twigs burst into white petals, outsized thorns, twisting like barbed wire through this no man's land, the long hidden crevices. War monuments, June 2014. There's one for each red-roofed village, for each gray-stoned town, sculpted in the local veined marble, deep pink sandstone. Carved into dark granite over red geraniums, the names of the men who died for honor, who died for nothing, a never-ending slaughter on the mud-choked Somme at Ypres, Verdun. 100 years on, they seem younger, not older, the years between us shorter. And this is called First Fruit. This is another new one, kind of springy. First fruit. I like wine a lot better than apples, and that's where this poem came from, I'll tell you. Okay, here it goes. Not the serpent, but the vine. The way it curls around her tendriling toes and fingers. Strong around her calf, her thighs, writhing across her stomach. The newly formed, still tender ribcage, clusters of dusky luminescence, pressing close along the whole of her flesh. She opens her mouth to the sweetly tantalizing, to bitterness, sour greenness, to forbidden vermilion, fermented honey, overripe peony, shriveled age. She tastes them all, and she blesses them. This is called The Roaring. This is set at the St. Paul Zoo in 1953. I'm reading this, my son will remember this place too. St. Paul Zoo was like this one-room zoo like they used to have that was just like one terrible place, with all these animals. Okay. The Roaring. It beat against my head, washed across the popcorn wagon, swallowed whole the fountain, throwing its water wildly up. The seals barked in their pool. The monkeys seemed human, combing and combing fur, stopping to pick nits out. I breathed in the familiar mustiness of wet fur, urine, bleach. Just when I thought I would be safe, the roaring came again, full-throated, gnawing, huge. When my brothers called, "Let's find the lion," running to the far end of the hall, I refused to follow, wanting nothing of a muscled litheness pacing a tiny, hosed-down space, raw meat scattered on the floor. Now when my vision seems muted, a drastic music heard through the wrong side of binoculars. If I could make a sound like that, send out a wave of blood-red fury, fill my own ears with all my heart already knows, I would. Okay. And I'm going to end with, I think I'll do this one. This is not in my book, but it's since Phil talked about the Haiku contest, and this is Poetry Month, because this is a poem about poetry. It's called Haiku Ladder, and it's based on a quote by Sonia Sanchez, which she was on TV. Haiku saves lives. And I love that. I love her. She writes a lot of haiku, and I love her haiku. And so this whole poem is in haiku, so you can kind of listen to, see if you can hear the lines. Haiku Ladder. It gets inside you, deep like the blues, and deeper. A river rising. I was a young nun. My mind prowled through syllables, beast hungry for words. I could buy one book. My 20th year Basho fell like a ripe plum into my desperate hands. His poems mirrored my mind, simply alive with them. I grew haiku eyes. The short lines slipped from my hand, flew into the world. May evening shower, petals from the wild rosebush, moonlight on the ground. My throne rock became Basho's frog plopping lidless into a convent pond. Water rings exploded, silver dancers leapt shoreward, inside and outside. Green growing woodweeds covered the eyes of the priests. Recall you are dust. The winter white pine gives ice a place to hang on. So haiku saved me. Thanks. Thank you.